Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video, and in this video I will be reviewing round 12 of the Monster Energy AMA Supercross Championship for 2023, which was at State Farm Stadium in Glendale for the final Triple Crown event of the season. So it was pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting on both parts. One for the championship and for so on and so forth. So let's just get this started with here. So we'll start off, obviously, what we normally do in the 450 class. We'll go brand by brand in terms of finishing position. We'll start off with Kawasaki first, and it's not getting any better. Let's just put it that way for Monster Energy Kawasaki this season. I had such high hopes for them this season. Obviously, I tipped Anderson to win the title, but unfortunately, he's been a long way from that. Obviously, AC, he was there or thereabouts. Obviously, he ended up sixth overall with 3 7th place finishes over the 3 main events. Over the 3 main events, and then obviously it could have been better for Anderson when he finished sixth in the first main, and then fourth in the second main event. And he was going well in the third main event until he went down in the whoop section in the third race, which dropped him down to 21st, which the whoops, apparently, from what I've heard, had been a problem pretty much all the night, pretty much. All that night there was a lot of problems. A lot of riders had problems with the whoops, except for the guys up front. Mostly for at 250 and 450s. So as I said, it just feels like that this prediction of me, Anderson, winning the title is just getting a hell of a lot more worse by the weeks that go by, to be honest. And in terms of that prediction, I just want that year to end, pretty much. It's pretty much certain that I've pretty much tipped right the 250 champions, of course, Jet and Hunter, but also the 450s, I've got it so wrong. So wrong, and and there's been and then also speaking about Monster Energy Kawasaki, there's rumors potentially that they're sniffing around for other riders, to be in their team, which the rider to be replacing is not going to be AC because he's already got a multi-year contract, which is most likely going to be Anderson, be the one on the way out. So it's not been confirmed yet whether Anderson's going to be staying on in that team next year. It's currently not been confirmed because I believe the original 2-year contract, I think it was 2 years, I believe, for Anderson with Monster Energy Kawasaki, which was signed at the beginning of 2022, runs out this year. And I don't know if he's going to stay, but I have a bit of a feeling that because I think Triumph, I don't know if they. I have to look this up. But I think it's next year, either this year or 2025. I might have to check that out. Do a quick search on that right now. The problem is my laptop's not. Trying to spell Triumph here. No, that's not. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. Because my laptop's not exactly working. So I think 2024. I don't know if it's 20. I think next year or the year after. But Triumph is coming into Supercross, and motocross, not only in America but also in Europe. So I don't know if Anderson might be interested in that to maybe headline that program, but yeah, I thought there was the sky's the limit this year for Anderson and the Kawasaki after coming so close to the title in 2022. It's just haven't worked out for him in his second season, and he's pretty much perhaps just gone back to what he did from 29 in the Anderson that we all knew from 2021 and 2020 and 2021 pretty much after and most of 2019 after he won the 2018 title. So yeah, so it's I think for me, it hasn't been confirmed, but I think for me it's 50-50 really. Anderson stays or goes for me at Monster Energy Kawasaki, which has been confirmed, which was from what I've heard. That's the rumor I've heard is Monster Energy Kawasaki are circling around for other riders to join them in their team, and most likely will be Anderson. If it's true that another rider's coming to their team, it will most likely be Anderson. That will be the one that will be ousted over there. So yeah, not really good really for Kawasaki. It seems like their season, it's just pretty much gone from bad to worse really. I mean, not in the fault of Cianciarulo, because he's still because you can excuse him because he's trying to get through a full season. He did miss a race or two, but it's not like an injury where he's just missed out the rest of the season after a fair few injury-riddled seasons. But Anderson, he was run up in the championship. There's no excuse. Last year there was no excuse for that. So Anderson, not really. So problems on the front for Monster Energy Kawasaki, not only on track as well, their performances, but off the track. Obviously, with silly season rumors starting to swirl around for 2024. Next up to Suzuki and their sole star man Ken Roczen. A pretty consistent night for him. Finished his best was finishing third in main event number 2, but finished fifth in the other two races, meaning that he finished up fifth overall. Finished fifth overall and moved into I believe fourth in the championship as well, which I'll get to the points standings on that pretty soon. So nothing to report really for Roczen. Just a pretty good weekend really for the Suzuki camp and for Ken Roczen. He's just quietly going around his business. Moving on to KTM. Quite interesting, really, for Webb. Obviously, he and Tomac entered this round tied on top of the championship. Entered tied for the lead in the championship. And it looked like when he finished runner up to Tomac in the very first main event. I thought, excuse me. It's just basically going to be Tomac and Webb for the overall here. But from what I heard rightly, because I often sometimes watch the post-race SMX Insider show on YouTube. Normally as a part of the Super Motocross YouTube channel, I sometimes watch that. And apparently from what I've heard was that he, after the main event, because the gate picks, they normally reset. So of course the picks for the gate picks for main one are basically based off of results from qualifying, and then the final gate picks obviously because from the LCQ. Those are the picks. And then basically, for example, if you win, if it's 1, 2, 3 for main event number 1, they get the first 3 picks for main event number 2. So basically, I think from what I've heard, I think Coop picked. I think he picked one of the gates that was near. It was in the middle between the middle of the middle gates and towards the very inside at the start straight. Just to get a bit of mental really for him, but unfortunately he went but unfortunately didn't work out because he ended up finishing 5th in the second main event, and basically had to have 5th gate pick for the third main event. So that basically, it was basically a bit of craft from Coop that basically failed. Really, so it was pretty disappointing really to see him finishing 4th, and now he's 7 points behind Tomac in the standings now, and he's now lost the red plate. And then obviously Plessinger, and obviously his teammate Plessinger had a bit of an okay night. Obviously finished 9th in the first 2 main events, and then finished up 6th in the final race. Ended up finishing 7th overall. It was a pretty okay sort of a day really for Red Bull KTM, but the only bad downside to it is Webb losing the points lead. Moving on quickly to Gas, Justin Barsha. He really has come on form in the last 3-4 races, finishing on the podium. I think 3 out of those 4 times. I think it would have been 4 out of the 5 if it wasn't for his clash with Sexton at Daytona. Probably it would have been 4 out of the 5. But he's really come into form now. I think he's really has now gotten used to that to the new gas machine that was introduced at the start of this season. It's taken him some time, but he had a bit of quiet heat races and main events and so on and so forth. But now he's finally getting into grips of it now, and of course finishing on the podium again. This one, of course, finishing third in main number 1, and then third and then second in the final main, but in the middle main he ended up finishing 6th. But he did salvage the podium and moved closer to probably a top 5 position in the championship, which would be great for him and for the gas team, because they really did struggle in the basically the first half of the season with this new bike, and then now in the second half they've really gotten that. But Bam Bam has really gotten the grips of it. Has now got some steam behind him. So hopefully maybe it equates into a first win for the season, and a long-awaited second win second win in Supercross for the gas manufacturer. So another very good night for Justin Barsha. Honda next up. Chase Sexton obviously did his usual bit. Obviously ended up fastest in qualifying again. the only times he didn't finish up in the top three in each of the three main events was the first one where he finished up in fourth. He ended up. The thing was in the second. He whole shotted the second main event as well, and he was going well. He was going fine. Tomac was not necessarily right behind him, but he was at a manageable margin for Sexton to, as I said, to manage. Suddenly goes into the bank turn, bang, the bike stalls. And then obviously straight away, with these bikes that have an electric start on them, he basically pressed the electric start and just basically went straight back at you. And then about a section later in the whoop section, he just passed Tomac straight back, and the crowd just went absolutely ballistic about that. And then he just went on to control the race from there in the second race, ended up winning the second race. And then the third main event, the third main event, he mostly trialed Barsha, ended up as he ended up securing second overall. And with that, he also ended up securing the annual Triple Crown Championship, which is basically a championship within a championship, pretty much for Supercross, where whoever basically a championship for the Triple Crown races. He ended up winning that, which I'll announce the standings later. But shout outs obviously to the other Honda rider on the team, the other Team HRC Honda rider, Colt Nichols, finishing 8th overall with 3 8th place finishes, and also he whole shot the third main event as well. But obviously dropping back to 8th. In the end, and then good old Dean Wilson ended up finishing 9th overall with 3 top 10 finishes for the Firepower Honda rider, which is a very good night there for Dino. And finally, to move on to mention Yamaha. I did say a few weeks ago that I was questioning Tomac in the possibility that has he run out of steam, he and Yamaha run out of steam, because, and I've got to be honest with you, I still think that what I just said a few weeks ago was valid, because they definitely came into the season wanting to dominate the early stages of the championship, or Tomac obviously, and the Star Yamaha team came into the season wanting to dominate the season and secure the title early. That's what I still think that was valid. But in the last couple of weeks, I mean, he's won Seattle, and now he's won overall in Glendale. He's now officially second all time. He's now in terms of all-time Supercross wins, he's now second officially on his own all-time, behind the king of Supercross himself, Jeremy McGrath. By the way, he's overtaken James Stewart on the all-time wins list. And I've gone for. I think for me, I don't want to go fully in the Tomac camp in terms of me picking him for the championship, because if I do that, then Webb's just going to go out and then just basically just go, well, F you then, and just go on a blitz of his own. And pretty much win the championship, because that's just what Cooper does. That's what he always does. So I'm sorry to anybody that will ask me who from the year is gonna win this championship. I can't say a name right now out of those two, out of Eli or Coop, because because if I pick Cooper, then Tomac's just going to continue on this form. He's going to secure the title. But if I go with Eli, then it's just going to wake Cooper up and basically go on a tear as well, and then basically steal the title away from Tomac. So yeah. So I just don't know where the title's going to go. And I've said this so many times, I'm going to say it again. The trend what I've seen this season has been when it's been, you know, it almost seems like when someone opens up, like, for example, a double-figure lead, or close to a double-figure lead, like 7, 8, or 9, when it is now, and then you think, this guy's gonna win again, and just tighten his stranglehold on the title. Next thing you know, ends up either dropping it or finishes a below par result, like or a 5th or a 6th off the podium, while the second place guy, which for example would be Webb, ends up on the podium or wins the main event, and suddenly bang, the title hunt is closed down again. And then once you think, it's gonna be a thrilling one, the championship leader ends up winning it, and it's opening up again. So it's just basically that and that. That's what it's been doing. That's what I've seen in the trend for hearing about most of this season, or if not all of this season. As I said, I've said too. I'm officially now ruling out Sexton now in the championship, unless Tomac and Webb obviously does not finish both of them finish a race in the last few races. Then probably Sexton, I think, is out of it. So it's definitely down to Eli and Coop for the championship. So yeah. And then basically back on Tomac's night, basically, you know, the first main event, he just whole shotted from there, and then just basically and then they just curb stomped the field pretty much. Second main event, he pretty much led for about a straight and a corner, and then Sexton, as I said earlier, passed him back, and then basically didn't see him again for that second main event, and then basically the third main event was pretty much like the first main event, except he didn't whole shot. He basically got past Colt Nichols in the second corner and never looked back from there, and pretty much won and then secured the win and the overall. So that was all the manufacturers here. Now you might be asking yourself, I've named 6 of those manufacturers. Where's Husqvarna by any chance? Well, unfortunately, during practice, Christian Craig, who was going so well in the last month or so of the season, was really getting consistent top 10 finishes. As the sole rider of Husqvarna after Malcolm Stewart went down injured early, and then obviously RJ Hampshire is going to focus on. Obviously, he's going to focus on the 250 West Championship. Even though he did make some appearances in the 450s on the east side of things, he unfortunately in the whoops went down, crashed in the whoops, went down, and injured his elbow and hip. And apparently, from what I heard was apparently that he was so bad that his hip actually was displaced. Actually, it was actually that bad. So it almost looks like that Christian Craig's Supercross season is now officially over. And for Husqvarna, who else is left? Who else is left for Husqvarna? I mean, there's more than likely. It seems unlikely that Malcolm Stewart's going to come back for this season. Of course, Craig's now out for the season. Christian Craig's now out for the season. RJ Hampshire, obviously, he might race some of those, couple of those East rounds when he has a break. But other than that, who else have they got? Who else have they got really? I do not know. So it's just unbelievable, really. It's unfortunately for Craig and for Husqvarna. I mean, for Craig, I mean, as I said, he was getting consistent top 10 finishes in the last month or two, after a bit of a slow start getting to grips with the Husqvarna 450 bike. Not to grips with the 450 in general, because he has ridden the 450 in Supercross on many occasions before this. This was his first full season, the 450s. He was slowly getting to grips with that. Then he was just getting and even in a couple of weeks ago, he ended up getting his first ever heat win in a heat race in the 450 class. But then this week, obviously, bang, he obviously went down, and obviously his season is now over. Supercross season is now over, unfortunately. So hopefully, best of luck to him. Best of luck to him there. But obviously, Husqvarna, who else they have left really? Now for the Triple Crown points, as I said, there's a championship within a championship. The Triple Crown. Point standings, obviously Chase Sexton won that one with 72 points. Tomac and Webb both end up tied for second in that championship, with 8 points. Both of them 8 points behind Sexton, but because of Tomac winning the overall in the final in the final Triple Crown of the year. He ends up getting the tiebreak, ends up finishing second in the championship, in the Triple Crown Championship, I should say. Roxon ended up fourth. Jason Anderson in fifth. Justin Barsha in sixth. Fourth and sixth were separated by 5 points in the end. Plessinger in seventh. Dean Wilson ended up in eighth in the Triple Crown Championship. So pretty good. So he ends up it's apparently pretty good in Triple Crowns apparently. Colt Nichols in ninth, and Justin Hill, despite not as good as he has been the last couple of rounds. Still ended up finishing top 10 in the Triple Crown point standings. In terms of the actual overall point standings, as I said, Tomac now leads by 7 points, over Webb. Sexton is now 25 points back now, so as I said, now he's pretty much out of the title hunt. It's getting pretty interesting now for fourth in the championship now, because it's now, as I said, 5 points. I said about 5 points. 5 points between fourth and sixth again for the overall standings, which is pretty much almost like the same riders with Roxon, Barsha, and Anderson, pretty much. Plessinger in seventh. Christian Craig is currently 8th in the championship, but as we pretty much expect, he's probably going to go down a couple of positions in the championship until now and the end of the season, obviously because of him not racing for the rest of the year. Adam Cianciarulo in ninth for pretty good season so far for him, coming off of an injury ravaged a couple of years, or for the first 3 years I should say in the 450 class. And Justin Hill rounding out the top 10 in his KTM. So it's pretty interesting to see really on what's going to happen over the next few weeks in terms of the point standings between Tomac and Webb. Moving on to 250 class, obviously, everyone was talking about the curse for Jet Lawrence about him in Triple Crowns, but we'll get to that later. Kawasaki, obviously, there was, of course, we all know what Pro Circuit Kawasaki's injury problems they've had. With Faulkner being injured in the first round at Anaheim, and then at Anaheim 1, and then obviously during that, Joe Shimoda and Seth Handmaker both had injuries, and then most recently Cameron McAdoo went down in training. So. Which obviously going to end his Supercross season. So obviously they've got none of their regular riders out. All their regular riders out due to injury. So the only ones that are there are basically Chris Blose and Carson Mumford. Which Carson Mumford, he was bit average, so to speak. Obviously finished 14th and finished 13th in his main event, but he was okay. But he was okay in the other two races, with 9th and 10th, finishing up 10th overall. For the round. So finally a mention of Suzuki in for the 250 class, obviously, because they've done bugger all in the 250 class compared to 450. Mostly because of Roxon, but Robbie Wageman, it has to be considered in this. I mean, if you just ignore the second main event where we finished up 15th, it was a pretty good results for main events 1 and 3, with a 9th and an 8th, which meant it was enough for him to be top 10 in the top 10 overall in 9th. KTM, of course, Max Voland on the Red Bull KTM, had a terrible first main event. Ended up finishing in 18th. But then rebounded in the final 2 races to finish 6th in both races, which meant he salvaged up 8th overall in the standings. Shockingly, not the best KTM on the night, because Derek Kelly had a fantastic night, finishing fifth in the first main, and then he was sort of just par. In the other two main events, with 8th and 7th, which meant he salvaged a fantastic sixth place overall at Glendale. So a fantastic day for him. Pierce Brown. Moving on to Pierce Brown. Of course, he had a pretty good night. Obviously, with 2 4th-place finishes and a 5th, which meant he salvaged 4th overall in that one. Now we move on to Yamaha. As you can tell, I'm going through these pretty quickly. Yamaha, obviously, with Levi Kitchen, the chef. We a pretty consistent night. With 2 2nd place finishes and a 3rd, which meant that he finished up on the box with 3rd overall. And also taking 3 out of 3, also hole shotting 3 out of the proposed 4 starts, because what happened was there was an accident at the start of the first heat race, first main event, where I saw the footage of it, and you couldn't see Styles Robertson, but he did go down in that same accident. And he went down, and he was actually that bad. He actually had to be carried from the track. So hopefully he'll be okay for next week. And then Enzo Lopes. I think that had a night where he improved throughout the night. Obviously, going from 7th in the first main to 5th in the second, and then finished up 4th in the third, which was enough for him to get 5th overall. I think he's had a great season, really, and hopefully it'll be enough for him to because there's been heavy rumours been swirling around that Levi Kitchen apparently is going to go to Red Bull KTM, next year, and move away from Star Yamaha. Why not move Lopes up from the Club MX Yamaha team up to the Star Racing Yamaha team? It's just I think it's a no-brainer, really. But if Levi does leave Star Racing and goes to Red Bull KTM, most notably, on that front. Moving on to Husqvarna, the only Husqvarna rider on that night, obviously with Christian Craig being out, was RJ Hampshire. Of course, finishing second overall again, with a second and a third in main events 1 and 3. But he did ended up. However, he did ended up winning the second main event. Obviously, I think he started off in second behind Levi Kitchen, and then he ended up passing Levi, and then he just basically went all the way to win from there. But then obviously ended up finishing third in the final main event, which meant it got into second overall, which again, obviously, he ends up behind the man of the moment himself, Jet Lawrence. According to what his words, apparently he's all sorted in terms of Triple Crowns. Apparently, he openly said that a bit of cockiness it came out of him. Really, came out of Jet, saying that I'm now all sorted in terms of Triple Crowns, which I instantly just pissed myself laughing because of it. Finally let his cocky side out, which I like, obviously because obviously he's got a massive points lead. So obviously he's the best in this Western regional field, anyways. So he can afford to do that sort of stuff. But he, other than that third place, in the second main event, he was just all on his own from there. Of course, whole shot the first start in the first race, that is until the crash that caused a red flag, which meant that they had to restart the race again, do the start again. Do the second start, which unfortunately he didn't do, but he think he started behind Kitchen in the second start, which basically and much like Hampshire in the second race, once he won the lead, there was just no going back from there. He ended up winning the second race, and it was pretty much the same really for the third main event, really, and salvaged his first Triple Crown overall win. And also a quick shout out as well to Mitch Oldenburg, as well. We won't talk about his result from the third main event with the 12th, but ended up finishing 6th and 7th in the other two main events, which meant he salvaged a 7th place overall. So not a bad for him, but really Jet, I mean, it's just he really has put a stranglehold on this TPD West Championship. It's just basically the Lawrence brothers basically just taking the 250 class hostage. Really, that's what they're doing right now. Because this is what I meant by them taking them hostage. So the overall standings, of course, Jet Lawrence is now lead by 26 points over RJ Hampshire, a full event now up in the championship. I don't know how many races they have left. I'm probably gonna check that now. I think they have a couple of more rounds left. No, they have 3 rounds left. So he probably won't be. He probably won't secure the title in the next one. Maybe the one after that in Denver. There could be the chance that he could secure that championship, secure his second straight championship, and join the likes of James Stewart, where that has won a Supercross won a 250 Supercross championship on 2 different coasts in 2 different years. Because obviously I think when Bubba did it, I believe in 2003, I think he won West in 03 and then East in 04. I think I might have to check that again. Again, some of you guys check and correct me on that in the comments. I believe I think it was West 03, East 04 for Bubba, and now which is basically the same thing. Basically East for Jet in 2022, and now East for East in 2022, and then West in 2023, possibly with that. But yeah, now but moving on. Third in the champion, third is now tied for the lead. It's now actually 2 points now separate third to 6th in the championship. Most likely between 3 riders now, because if you count Cameron McAdoo out of it, because obviously he's not going to come back for the remainder of the season. He is now out of it. So, but he's currently tied with Levi Kitchen for third in the championship. Point behind them is Enzo Lopes in 5th in the championship. Just imagine if he claims third in the championship. That would be massive for him. Oldenburg in 6th in the championship, 54 points behind Jet. 7th is Pierce Brown. 8th is Max Volan. 9th is Cole Thompson, and pulling up into the top 10 in the championship is Derek Kelly, who is 83 points behind Jet Lawrence in the standings. So the next round of the season is going to be back east at Atlanta. So I obviously can't wait to see the hopefully because we haven't seen a full blown Tomac Webb battle yet. For a win. I know there was at San Diego, but it was more or less, Coop trying to chase down Tomac, trying to chase down Eli, but it was too late, really. We've never really had that sort of battle between Tomac and Webb. So hopefully at Atlanta, where it's basically the best track really for Cooper, and then obviously we all know Eli's record in terms of speedway tracks dating back to Daytona. So we all know that. So obviously yeah, and then obviously the East Championship. It's gonna be back on again. It's gonna be back on again. There is I think there's 3 rounds to go in that too. Because I think there's Atlanta and then Nashville and then the East West Showdown at Salt Lake. So there's 3 rounds. I think there's 3 rounds to go each in each of the championships in the 250 class. So it's going to be exciting, really, and I won't be surprised if the Lawrence brothers go 1 and 2 in that East West Showdown. I won't be surprised by that. But now to wrap up this video. That's pretty much the end of this video. So like this video, share to anybody who is a Supercross fan. Comment down below who's your pick to win the 450 Supercross Championship from here. Do you think it's going to be Tomac? Do you think it's going to be Webb? Do you think are you one of the few people that still think Chase Sexton is in this championship? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And one last thing, somewhere down there, click on the big red button just labeled subscribe. But until next time, guys, I'll see you guys later, and wherever you may be, may the sun or the moon shine on you.